road again. Just can't wait to get to work again. All right, here we go. How you guys doing? Welcome to episode 3 of Work Commute. Let's talk. My name's Scott Velasquez, longtime video game developer, esports fan, soccer coach, dad, tech junkie in general. See, every episode I just talk about random stuff on my way to work to keep myself sane and hopefully to talk about some stuff y'all want to talk about as well. So today, what I think we're going to talk about is based on some comments I got from the last video and something I hear a lot too as a dev, and I'm sure other devs do too. What does it take to be a programmer? You know, that's a pretty open-ended question. You know, there's lots of different jobs you can be as a programmer. You know, and it's easy, I can speak to that, you know, just in general. It really depends first on your age. You know, that's going to kind of set the tone for how you learn. But, you know, I can maybe break it down like, you know, young kids and a little bit older, or even adults too. You know, don't ever think that you can't start learning. I mean, if you don't believe me, you know, I can try to find some links, but like, you know, people that started up like say, things like Instagram and some of these other like tech businesses that went on to be pretty big, and these guys did not know how to code. You know, they might have had a partner that maybe did, but a lot of times people first start with the idea, you know, and like a programmer does, or an engineer of all trades, then you got to break it down. All right, we want to do this. All right, now let's work backwards. How do we get to that? And that's our job every day as a programmer is, I want to build this. How do I build it? Or this bug is not working correctly. How did it end up in that state? Or, you know, this piece of code is not performing well, or content's not performing well. Why is that? You know, I like to say we're like detectives a lot of times, you know, especially in the bug and the performance sense. But anyway, to jump back over to, you know, being a programmer, let's start with the younger kids. So now is a good time to try to learn to be a programmer, because opportunity for one, I mean, there's tons of programming jobs, like I was saying, in all different kinds of fields, but also just how you can learn today is just vastly different from when I learned, and you know, from, I'm sure, you know, people in like the 70s or whatever. But you have the internet, you have google.com, like there is nothing stopping you from doing programming or anything in general. You just have to get out there and find it. You know, so I want to help you out a little bit. You know, if you're like a younger kid, you know, even up to like say middle school and even high school. I have my high school daughter do it as well. Go to code.org, code.org, and they have a lot of good stuff for you to do. And what's great about it too is it's mostly logic stuff, you know. So it's logic stuff, and it's really quick, instant gratification, you know, to know if you did something right or wrong or not. And they'll have you, you know, write some stuff in Minecraft and some other games, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. You know, if you poke around that site a little bit too, you'll probably find some links to, you know, meetups and stuff like that. I recommend those too if you have some, if you happen to live in an area that has that. So start there, start to do the logic problem, start to be able to break down larger problems into smaller tasks. Then when you feel comfortable about that, now is when you have to take the next big step of figuring out, okay, I have some logic stuff under my belt, I feel like I can break down some problems pretty good. Now you need to pick an area of technology that's most importantly interesting to you, because when you go to learn a new language, if you're not interested in what you're doing, man, it's going to be boring. You're going to lose interest and you're just going to give up. So think about what it is why do you want to learn programming? You know, is it you want to build some sick web technology? If it is, okay, there's an angle there where you can, you know, go learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that kind of stuff. Is it game development? Okay, well, there's a different path for that, much harder, but there's still a path for that. It could be mobile apps. You know, that's another good one to transition into. I would definitely recommend, you know, probably web stuff, mobile stuff, and then game stuff. But you don't have to take in that order, and it, you know, and it varies too, again, based on age and what you already know and whatnot. Another thing I like to do with my kids is find an electronic device, you know, something that's old, you're not using anymore, and take that sucker apart. You know, we've taken apart, you know, CD players and kids' little toys and all that, but, you know, just take it apart, you know, take the face off, figure out like how the buttons worked, you know, what electronics are inside, and, you know, that's programming right there, you know, just in the physical world. It's really fun, and I think you'll get a kick out of it too. Just be careful depending on what you're taking apart. I probably wouldn't take apart TVs, especially old ones, that have the big capacitors like that. You don't want to hurt yourself, make a big mess. And then try to put it back together if you're brave enough. If not, just throw it away. If you want to go the web route, one place I recommend, I've used it a little bit, just sort of getting up to speed on Node and React, and brushing up on JavaScript, is Free Code Camp. I forget the actual URL. I think it's freecodecamp.org. Definitely give them a go. They have some pretty good tutorials and little walkthroughs. It's not going to teach you everything about a language, but it'll quickly get you thinking about different areas of the language. And then what I recommend is, whatever you learn that day, turn around and see if you can make that on your own from scratch. Fire up Sublime, Notepad, whatever, and just keep doing that at the same time that you're going through these tutorials, so you don't forget, because you're going to learn a lot of stuff. Same thing goes, try to supplement whatever you're learning there with maybe some introductory text of some sort. You need to practice. So build stuff at your house, throw it away, whatever, but just everything you read, go home and practice it. So that's some good web stuff. You can do that, and then once you finish one of those courses, depending on what you are learning, there's like beginner Node stuff, beginner React, whatever. Just go make something. Put it out there. Send some links to your friends. My kids love building stuff and sharing it, even if it's like silly little logic things that they've done on the app. Just the fact that you're sharing it with somebody, that's another spark that makes you feel that loop of, I built a thing, somebody's using my thing, somebody appreciated my thing. So again, this time is a great time to learn the programming, because you can share it, and you get that long-term gratification. Okay, so that's web. Let's see, mobile. I'm not too sure about mobile like tutorials per se, but there's definitely a lot of good books. Back when I was doing iOS stuff, I read a lot of Big Nerd Ranch. Definitely recommend them. They have some really good books on iOS that I was reading. I think they might focus mostly on iOS. Sorry, Android dudes and dudettes. But yeah, I think Apple has some good introductory stuff, and I'm sure YouTube, and man, you guys just have so many resources today. But find some good mobile stuff. Again, make something really simple and just keep making it. If you make a little tiny GPS app, cool, do that. The next time, add something else to it. Next time, add something else to it. Add profile data, add anything. Just build it in small steps. And through all of this, when you're working, don't compare yourself to a professional, and set some small goals for yourself, because, even if you do want to make a web page that does, X, Y, or Z, you may not get all that working in the first day or the first week. But if you have some small goals, like I want to do this and this and this, then you can sort of like check them off and feel good about your progress. You can run a mobile emulator. You actually don't need to go through the whole certification process and actually like uploading it to the cloud somewhere, so you can download it on your phone. Because it is mobile and everybody lives on mobile, there's got to be some stuff that you would love to build for yourself just to make your life easier. And chances are, if you want that thing, somebody else is going to want it. But anyway, jumping ahead. We're learning right here. Okay, robotics. So robotics are really interesting to me, because just all the things we did in robotics class, from building things from ground up. When I first had to write software to control the robot that I just built, that's when it all clicked for me. And I think, the best process is if you can build the stuff and then write the software. I'm sure there's probably some positions at certain tech companies that get to do that, and man, what a dream job that would be. But robotics was awesome, because the sense of writing, building something, writing something, and then actually using it in the real world doesn't get any more real with that. I had the robot in my hand, I could set it down, and we were trying to run these little gauntlet tracks and stuff. The Internet of Things and all these robotics things that are going right now, super cool. I don't know if you have interest in that, but if you do, there's a great entry into programming. And there's tons of scaling there, as far as beginner to intermediate to advanced. Definitely recommend that if that's something you want to do. Depending on the kit you buy, that's going to have its own requirements on software, and that'll probably drive you into learning a certain language like JavaScript or Python or C. That's fine. The main thing, again, back like I was saying in the beginning, is find something that's going to keep you motivated so that you can see this through. Too many people start stuff, and myself included on some of my side projects. We start stuff, we get distracted by a new shiny, or whatever it is. So just find something that's going to keep your interest, and I guarantee you will learn something, and you'll have fun, and you'll probably meet people. Best of all worlds. Okay, so we talked about robotics and gaming. Gaming's a little more difficult, but totally doable. It's going to take some self-restraint, but I highly recommend you don't just download a Unity or Epic tutorial for UE4 and just try to jump straight into 3D having no experience, no coding experience. It's just going to be frustrating. You're going to end up not retaining much because you're just going to be line by line having to follow, and copy stuff. Take the time to learn some fundamentals, code.org. Find some good, I recommend, like one thing we took in college was a data structures course. You need to just think about, like, the logic's going to teach you, sort of the sequence and the steps to break down a problem and implement them. Data structures will help you understand the tools you have basically in your toolbox. It's really all up to you. You're gonna have to really devote some time to learning the tools, the software that they use, the language they use. But those are two really good game engines I would recommend. If you want to go mobile maybe and then video games, some other ideas if you don't want to go the Unity route are one game engine I had a lot of fun playing around in was Cocos 2D. So that's COCOS 2D. And it's a 2D engine, just like it sounds, with sprites and levels and all that kind of stuff. And they have some tools for building levels. That to me was a lot of fun. It's a little more simple, getting rid of one dimension. That's going to help a lot. Okay, so if I was to break that down, number one would be figure out why it is that you want to program. Whatever that area is, the problem you want to solve for yourself or some particular area of technology, figure out why you want to do that, because that's going to help keep your attention, and it could choose sort of how you learn. It's very important that you stay motivated. Okay. 2, learn the fundamentals. Very important. Also sometimes rather boring, but if you don't have the fundamentals, you don't have the tools. You're going to have a toolbox with some cheat codes in it, and when the cheat codes aren't available or can't really help you solve your problem, you're going to be stuck. Probably not a great analogy, but you know what I mean. Learn the fundamentals. What's the for loop? How do I store memory? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, very important. Yeah. All right, sorry about that, just sneezed. All right, number 3 is going to be try to find somebody to learn programming with. It's definitely not required, but it's a lot more fun, and it might actually help you retain more and learn more as you learn from each other and help each other figure out problems. Even as a game developer and working at Gearbox for 16 years or whatever, I still want to learn stuff. And back before he moved out to California, my friend Leo, we would take Stanford courses online and and go through the homework, and every night we would hold each other accountable and exchange what we built and check stuff out. But that's a lot of fun. You need a buddy too sometimes, just to kind of keep you going. So think about that too. If you know anybody that wants to learn as well, do it together. Go to each other's house, go to a coffee shop, just have fun with it. And number 4, start learning. So whatever you chose, if it's an online site, if it's a book, get to it. Do so much each day, dedicate some time of your day. It's gonna cut into your gaming time. I know, hey, it is what it is, right? Long-term goals. But dedicate some time every day to learn the stuff, and then a little more time to practice the stuff. That's, again, you're gonna forget if you don't practice. Once you're not having to look up a book or a language reference or something like that to implement a solution, now you're cooking. Now you're sort of a seasoned programmer. You're starting to learn the language. That's where you want to get to. So practice. File that stuff away. Okay, before I get to number 5, let's say 4.1 is going to be don't become discouraged. This, depending on the language you learn, depending on if you have any of this sort of background, it could be really frustrating. You may get to parts where you just don't understand why. Just power through it, ask for help. Hopefully if you're learning with your partner, they might get it, and later on you can help them, vice versa. But just don't give up. Make yourself some small goals so you can check it off and feel that progress, and just push through. Okay, and lastly, number 5, show off the thing that you're making. Whether it's a web page, it's a mobile app, chances are somebody that you show it to is going to be pretty impressed. I don't know why, but people think programming's this crazy this crazy magic, you know, kind of like how we feel about art, but it's very objective. It's straightforward to learn once you sort of break it down and think about what it is you want to do. But show what you make to people, and that feedback loop is probably going to get you hooked, okay? And number 6, most importantly, have fun. Just have a lot of fun with this. Don't be too hard on yourself. Put on, you know, some good music, depending on what you're doing, maybe even Netflix or whatever, if you're in the practice mode or something like that. But just have fun, man. Like, programming is the best. This world's gonna need more engineers. We're only becoming more and more advanced. We have self-driving cars. You know, where are our phones going? What's VR? What's AR 5-10 years from now? But just have fun with this. Stick with it. I know you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Tons of people are doing it. All right? Get out there, learn, make stuff, have fun, and show me what you've been making, all right? All right, until next time, we'll see you. Peace.